Good morning, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm Suzanne Taylor King, and we are here for the Productive and Prosperous Entrepreneur Coffee Chat. And we are here today with one of my incredible Idea Lab members and networking expert, Daniel Andrews. Welcome, Daniel.
Hey, welcome to you too. It's so good to see you this close to Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You can see I'm already in the spirit here. So
You are. And I am in exercise gear and I am in full wrapping mode. I am in
that's
cookie
next.
baking mode. There's cookies in the oven right now. It smells amazing in my house.
Nice.
So I wanted to keep with my normal Friday schedule, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's the holidays. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit today. Well, one, about your amazing mastermind groups, all the work that you do as
Mm-hmm.
creating meaningful conversations and being this really concierge networker that you
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
Since I have met you, I have met some of the most incredible people. And I want to just say thank you for that.
Sure.
And I also want to acknowledge having you to coach conversations, having you in my community, having you participate in networking events really up levels me and who
Thank you.
I'm spending time with. So thank you. But I want you to say a little bit about being exposed to another community
Mm-hmm.
and your recent success that I know you've had.
Well, I'm getting traction. I think success, is measured by different metrics down the road, but
Mm-hmm.
we're getting traction. We're getting exposure. We're getting positive responses, which is a degree of success, right? What do they call it? Key performance indicator, or
Yes.
KPI on the way to success, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah. So, and I appreciate your ability to reach people and to share. And I think what's interesting is you and I have quite a bit of complementary energy
Mm-hmm.
in that you've got quite a bit of reach, and the network that I have tends to be on the deeper side, meaning that the introductions I've made to you, I think almost universally have been fairly significant. Um,
Yes.
and I think both are needed, right? I mean, I'm teaming up with you in a lot of ways because you have some exposure that I don't have, but I bring some fairly significant voices to the dialogue, to the network itself, and that's fun to see us being able to support each other in that way. And I appreciate the support that you've given
Yeah.
in so many ways to what we're trying to get done out here in the world, and that we agree so much philosophically on how to treat people, how to support people, how to assist people, always with a mentality of give, and then see what comes back, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
not a give in order to get back
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate that so much in all of your teachings, your workshops that I've been to, which of course we'll share links after this
Mm-hmm.
live. We'll share links to your next workshop and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And one of the things that I appreciate so much is just the the intention behind how you connect people. So whether you're connecting me or connecting with other people, it's all about that go giver mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that that's so many times on social media that that's missing
Mm-hmm.
in either networking or connecting. And I just appreciate that so much. And I want to stress to all the people listening, people that follow me or appreciate my content, do the same for Daniel, because what he's saying about connecting, networking, introducing referrals makes so much sense. And I think that was the giant takeaway from your short presentation,
Mm-hmm.
that people had aha moments during that presentation about how they were networking, and they saw something in your diagram.
Mm-hmm.
So speak a little bit to that, to your
Sure.
diagram, and to how you make people feel about their networking.
Well, and Yes, thank you. I want to take that opportunity, and I want to acknowledge a couple of things that, because I tend to be very careful in my language in a lot of ways. And networking is something that we all have associations with, right? When I refer to what some people do, I refer to networking as a verb. When I refer to myself and what we accomplish, network is always a noun. And I've had a little fun with that definition. I'll loop back to that in a minute. But I build networks. And I choose that terminology because it is different than what anybody typically associates with the word networking as a. I'm sorry, my phone's going to ring and I'm going to ignore it.
That's all right. We're live.
I apologize.
That's what happens. That's what
Let me at
happens.
least
It's
mute
the
it.
real world.
Okay.
Gotta love that Christmas
Well,
jacket.
apparently whoever it was didn't care enough to let it ring more than once, which is fine. Anyway, I got it muted now. But the diagram that I do, that I call the networking quadrant, right? I'll probably need to trademark that somewhere, but I don't really care. Anybody could film my workshop and share the info, right? If we can elevate the discourse around building networks, I'd be happy to do that. But people have associations to it. They may have more than one association to the notion of networking, but they probably have never put much thought into the distinctions, right? And I make a distinction between spaces that look like weekly leads groups and spaces that look like open networking, like a happy hour or coffee hour, and spaces like chambers of commerce and professional associations, because each of those has some different characteristics. And then the fourth differentiation is networking, and then building a network, building relationships that matter.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, one of several one-sentence descriptions of what I do is I help people stop networking, and by that I mean what they think of when they think of networking. I help people stop networking and start building relationships that matter. But the awareness that just comes from what's available in each of those spaces, meaning people can look at that and then determine a couple of things. Number one, what spaces they're more comfortable in, what spaces they're most likely to get value in. And then thirdly, they get a little bit of information on how to get the most value from that space. Meaning if they know what's available there, then they don't show up looking for something that they won't find in that space or that place. And therefore they're already better at building networks because they're not swimming against the tide, so to speak. In those spaces.
I think that might be your most important distinction, especially for, really for everyone, but I think for people just starting out with networking, expecting to go to open, speed networking events and receive clients from that, it's just not going to happen. And two, the more seasoned entrepreneur who has people, but not necessarily relationships. So that's really been the aha moment for me. Right. I was for years great at collecting people. I could form a group on Facebook and have 2,500 people in it very easily because I was good at attraction marketing. But then what happened with those people? Did I know them? Did they know me? Did they like me? Did they trust me? Or were they just there to get the free content? I'm not sure. But once I changed that approach, it was really beautiful what started to happen. And the network that started to build, you start to see the spider web of connections, right? Oh, this person knows this person knows this person. And when you can fill a room of those people and they see faces that they know from other groups or that they've wanted to meet and haven't been able to, that's really building a network.
Yes. And, picking up on what you just said, which is the definition I promised I'd come back to, right? The way that I phrase it very consistently is network, again, as a noun. Your network is the people who will return your call. Everyone else is just a contact. And then you turned it into your own words, which means the same thing. But I love it when people turn it into their own words because it shows that they're processing it, right? They're not just parroting.
Mm.
And I think I love the way that you said it. When I said that first, you thought for a moment, you parroted it back, and you said, just because you're in their phone doesn't mean they will answer their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a great summary, right?
Yeah.
And when I say return your call, I also mean accept an introduction from you with no questions asked. Meaning some people you create an introduction for and you need to queue it up. You need maybe sometimes even ask permission before you put two people in touch with each other. But I don't do much of that. I do occasionally if I think it's a bit of a reach, but my network is strong enough that usually I can assist people the most by introducing network to network. Meaning if I put you and anybody else in a thread on LinkedIn with one sentence, I know that both you and the other person would both be quick on the trigger to throw your scheduling link out there because you know that if I created it, that there's a reason, right? That I understand enough about you and I understand enough about them to see some power there in the teamwork. And I think too that yes, people go to lots of places. They hand a lot of business cards. They collect a lot of business cards, and they may generate some clients from that, but it's based on numbers, meaning they're not doing it very efficiently. And in almost all cases, I don't see much in the way of real. I don't want to use that word. Effective network building, and what I mean by that is that the depth of the dialogue tends to stick at, will you ever be my customer or will I ever be yours?
Yeah.
Right. And I love the fact that our first engagement, you're like, hey, this is what I do. I support people. This community is free. Jump on in. And the more I knew you, the more I'm like, wait a minute, I need to put my hand up because you've got a paid platform that I think I need to be part of. Right.
Yeah.
But you did that. You just wanted me to introduce quality people in general, right? And then it gave me time to see what you're about and be like, hang on a minute, I think I want what you've got,
Yeah.
And people miss the power of that. Meaning, if all you do is prospect, then you're limited to your ability to get to the happy hours, the chambers, the leads groups, which can be effective, but maybe not as efficient as the idea of building a quality relationship where that person's network then becomes yours. And again, going back to the word network, right? All my contacts wouldn't necessarily take an appointment with you, even if you reached out to them, but my network would, right?
Yes.
And then when I ask for something from your network, you only introduce me to your network. You don't introduce me to your contacts, right? And so I can get to everybody that's in your network, not in your phone, but everybody in your network very easily. And because they are true network and they have trust in you, they will then introduce me 1 degree out with almost no friction. And if anybody's listening to this and they think, oh, it's not that simple, then you got to meet, Billy Bob and convince him. No, if Suzanne introduced you to Billy Bob, I can assure you, and I have proof, I have visual proof, I have screenshots of dialogues in real time, 3 degrees of separation and a total of 15 text messages in an hour.
Yes.
Inside of an hour, right? I'm at the 3rd degree of separation. Not just in a dialogue, but actually with their account. They sent me their calendar link, because they trusted me enough to give me a half hour of their time. And then another one where I was 5 degrees of separation deep into the world of millionaires, literal multimillionaires, in about 10 days. I was assisting a professional mermaid. And lest you think I'm just using a metaphor, she is a professional mermaid. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook, the Deep Blue Mermaid. And we got her where she needed to be very quickly. And I do have a habit of saying, if I can assist a mermaid, I can help you.
Yeah. If you can assist a mermaid, I have dressed as a mermaid for a child's birthday party a long time ago, but professional mermaid, no. And if you can help them, but I want to pull out something that you said about business cards. And I've used this visual a couple times. This is the first time I've done it live. This is a stack of business cards that I received at the last kind of business association, local business association meeting that I went to. It was pretty much up to me to go and introduce myself to people. Immediately, it was, here's my card, not meeting me. So I collected the cards and I only handed out a couple of mine. at the end of the event, new people could introduce themselves. And I basically introduced who I am, what I do. And I said that I have an online community of entrepreneurs and a network online of in excess of 25,000 people that I reach on a weekly basis. If you're interested in being a part of the larger or the smaller network, reach out to me. Not a single one of these people reached out to me.
Mm-hmm. Because they don't have a model of building a relationship. They have a
Correct.
model of prospecting you. If you're
Yes.
not buying from them, or if they don't understand what you're offering in a moment and want to buy from you, then the conversation's over. Which
Yes.
is again, it's doable, but it's only doable on large numbers, right? You
Yes.
you never get off the treadmill of the cocktail parties, right? And
Yeah.
I'm comfortable there because I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable there because I know how to find value for my clients, right? Of the many ways I bring value to the people that give me money, and I bring lots of value to people that don't give me money. I'm fine either way. I bill myself as networking, concierge, which means I'm your avatar. If you're not at the event, I am, but I'm thinking of you, right? And scoping the room for who you need to meet. And number two, I'm your wingman. If you are at the event with me, I will make sure that you get a warm introduction to the right person rather than get trapped in a long conversation with someone else who could be the right person, but sometimes you can use up too much time, or worse yet, trapped in a conversation with somebody that's not the right person, right? And you don't get to meet or know those people that you should be meeting. So, right, and there's interesting to me. There's value. If I walked up to you, Suzanne, at an event and said, "You need what I've got," you'd be like, "Maybe I do, maybe I don't." But if I walk up to you and say, "Suzanne, I think you need what that guy over there has," you're like, "What's he got?" You're like, I can't explain it that well, but go talk to Billy Bob. I think you need what he's got. You're going to walk over there, even if you figure out I'm getting paid to say that,
I
right?
know.
You're still going to walk over there with a sense of curiosity. You're going to walk over
Yes.
there with a sense of endorsement, meaning if you have any reason to trust my credibility, meaning I wouldn't be taking money from somebody to create those introductions if I didn't find value in what they offered and the way they treat people, by the way, because there's plenty of people whose business model I have a lot of respect for, but whose delivery I don't, and vice versa, right? There's people with the right heart, but I don't think the value's in many cases, for what they're offering. But there are a bunch of LinkedIn coaches that would love to be inside my network, and I'm like, and maybe there's people that see value in the world's most professional LinkedIn profile, but I'm like, I don't, right? And I can't look somebody in the eye and be like, you need to up your profile when they're looking at mine going, you didn't hire that coach. I'm like, yeah, I don't, because I deal with people, not images, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the whole online mystery that took me so many years. And I will say, since the name of this show is Productive and Prosperous, when I finally got past the illusion of the online space, I got more productive. So using social media to either fill your Zoom room, meet people in the real world, have real conversations, totally doable. But it was that illusion that I was going to post on social media. Somebody was going to read that, click to my profile, click to my website, click buy a $3,000 coaching package, and I wouldn't know who they were. So
that's never going to happen.
But that illusion is so prevalent, especially in coaching, in coaching packages, programs. The illusion is there that you're going to post on Instagram, somebody's going to click your link, they're going to schedule with you and buy your $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 coaching package. Maybe. And now I know it does happen once in a while,
but it's based on large numbers,
large
numbers. And I think part of the reason for that is not because people don't have a desire for connection. And I'll pause here and say, I was just listening to an interview with the CEO of Hasbro, yesterday on a podcast, the toy company, literally. And he said,
Mhm.
in an age of digitization, people are craving authentic connection. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm like, this guy's in the toy business. I'm going to rip that line off. I said, and so
Yeah.
I said it a couple times in my head so I could get it right. And here I am finding a place to use it. And I
Yes.
think I keep leaning on my desk, and that's one of my images wobble, and I'll stop doing that. I think what makes the difference there is that it's easy to develop a plan or to be sold a plan by a professional marketer on numbers of impressions, meaning that that model,
Yeah.
that strategy, that intentionality already exists. And if it's working at the level somebody wants it to work, that's fine. I don't need to convince anybody to ditch what's working and go another route.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of the reason people don't pursue a building a network mentality, a build strong relationships mentality, is they don't have that playbook on how to do that. Right. When I show up in places, right, I give a talk, and people like, or, I shouldn't say I give a talk. I create a workshop, I share some information, I share some insight, and people like, this isn't being taught anywhere. And I'm like, yes, it is. At University of South Carolina's Business School, I get to show up for 50 minutes once per class, right? Every graduating class gets to hear from me for 50 minutes. And I'm like, that is highly insufficient.
Highly insufficient.
Highly insufficient, right? And the most accessible book, the fastest quick read on the basics of effective relationship building that I found is out of print. Now you can buy it, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I buy up all the used copies when I find them on the used bookstore site to share with my clients, right? So I don't create some artificial demand. The price might go from $4.50 to $45 if I create some artificial demand. But connect with me, I'll get you a copy if somebody wants one.
Oh, I love that.
And there's some other books that are a bit deeper and very profound that are still in print. I don't want to pretend that nobody's getting information out there, but I've run across very few people that are actively supporting any form of live coaching, right? Aside from, here, read this book, right? Some form, and I say live. I don't like the word live, because even a digital meeting is live, right? This is happening live, right? But it's not in person, it's still live. But I use the phrase in person and digital. I don't like live and virtual, because virtual implies fake. This is not
No.
This is not fake. This is a real meeting.
No. Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
So
but language matters.
Language does matter. And I think when we talk about your actual network, it's people that we said they're in your phone, you would answer the phone or you would return their call, right? Let's take that a step further to people that you've only connected with through Zoom, or like right now we're on StreamYard, right? Do you feel like you actually know me, even though we've never been in the same room together in person?
Yeah. I may know you better because I'm not. I mean, I love your bookshelf, but I'm not distracted by the tchotchkes around your desk, right? If you came to my house, right, where I'm officing right now, or even my office, you'd be distracted by the stacks of business cards on my meeting table. If you came in to meet at my meeting table, I would have to sweep it clear of the literal stacks, because each stack represents something different to me and a different email you're going to get, right? Yeah. So I think you tighten the focus a little bit. People tend to. I can spend more time with you because I don't have to factor travel time in, right? I actually startled myself yesterday and had to move a couple people because my appointment was 35 minutes from my house, which I never do that, but it was a chance for a twofer, so I was gonna do it. And I actually had to move people earlier and later because I had to account for the travel time. I'm just not used to having to account for travel time. But yeah, I mean, you and I have described each other as work besties at this point, right? And this comes from 60 days of phone calls and Zoom meetings. Right? Yeah. And not even.
And listen, my other work bestie is like demanding. She's demanding an intro to this guy. Like, who is this guy? I need to know. So,
well,
Denise,
if you have another work bestie, then I need to demand an introduction to that person as well.
I think you do. So, Denise, if you're watching this guy, you need to meet him. All right, so let's talk about the show topics: Prosperous, and productive.
Mhm.
What makes you feel most productive in your business?
Whew. I mean, we're in business to make a living, right? So the tracking the rev,
Mm-hmm.
is part of it. But what makes me feel most productive is, I can reach right here. I get into shorter or longer, and this was a longer conversation today, right? But I was into a great conversation with a guy named Bill. Y'all can't see this, but the top half of this page, top half of every page, is what I'm learning or the content. And then down here, as he's talking and we're learning from each other, I'm creating a list of introductions or resources I want to introduce him to. Now, I will put it up a little closer to the camera so you can see that there's a circle there, because that circle says to me that's actionable, but I haven't done it yet. When I've completed that, I will put a check mark in it.
Oh my God.
Or if we speak about it and he goes, that's
Okay.
not what I want, I will then put an X in the box, because I won't then try to reintroduce him to the same resource later. Right.
Do the
And by the way,
same.
you can see part of the way down the list, right?
We're twins.
STK, right? Which is
Nice. We're twins. So
exactly.
I take the notes. I write down what resources, I think of for them during the conversation. I think of an ask for each person, do you want to join my community? Do you want to meet this person? Whatever. And then I write down what action steps I have to take after the call. So, and then once I do it, I highlight it so I know it's done.
So it's done, exactly.
And
so the productivity is that meeting,
yes.
And then now I'm building in spaces between the meetings. Meaning you can't book me, somebody can't book me at 10 and somebody else at 10:15, the next 15-minute call, so that I can then spend that moment to jump on and at least get part the way, if not all the way through that list, depending on how many connections there are to make or resources to share. But yeah, that's the
I like
part.
that.
And then to see in my inbox the people replying to the email intros or the LinkedIn intros, hey, looking to meet, right? And it's fun for me to eventually have to say, y'all really should let me out of this thread, right? You don't still need me as negotiating a time to meet. Calendly as your friend.
Yes.
But anyway, it's fun. I finally said that too, and exchanging went on way too long. And just before, I'm blanking on her first name. Just before she let me out of the dialogue, she said, I said, now's the time to let me out. And she goes, but we like you. And then she kicked me out.
That's cute. That's
cute.
I know.
I'm like, well, it was Casey Williams, said that. So
nice.
Like, right.
Nice.
At least to know, okay, that was a warm feeling, as opposed to, okay, I'm sorry for wasting your time with 83 LinkedIn notifications.
Exactly.
A nice
All
way.
right. So the word prosperous to me is something. I worked with a coach for about 3 years who was big into Stoic philosophy and ancient wisdom and modern tools. And one of the things he said about the word prosperous, affluent, and secure is that they had nothing to do with money. And my head spun around and I was like, but wait, I thought I had to be a multimillionaire. Right? I thought it was all about money. And the word prosperous is now special to me because it implies that you're moving forward with hope of a better future. Nothing to do with money or success or any of those things. It has to do with resilience and grit and hope, which was just super impactful for me 4 years ago when I was transitioning my business a bit. And with that in mind, with moving forward with hope, what are you most looking forward to in your business for 2023? Since you're my official last coffee chat of the year.
And I'm of a mind that goals are important, but resolutions suck. Meaning, if you need to make a change, make it now. Don't wait till January 1st, right?
Yeah.
I'm most looking forward to the places and the spaces. One of yours is one of them, where I can duplicate the efforts, right? I take a lot of pride in the fact that the skills I teach people, even if I invite them into one of my networks, right? I will then also teach them how to build their own network, meaning I fully anticipate people will graduate, right? If they actively follow the steps, through the coaching, ask for questions, ask for advice when they need it, and fine tune it. That network building is fundamentally replicating, and they may start by being in my network, but they don't need to stay in my network because they will have so many resources through the network, but not still in the original network. Meaning they will, ask, Ariel Lee for an introduction to Dan Roth, who gave an introduction to Anna Morgan, right? And very quickly they won't need the space or the people that I've created to continue to support them. I say very quickly, year and a half, depending on how much time they invest in what I refer to as a paired interview, right? And going back to the notion that language is important, right? I'm particular about my words because people have associations with, the phrase one-on-one, one-to-one, right? That's actually comes from a very particular brand, that I have. I respect the fact their success. I don't respect the fact that, I think the metaphor I use is that they give you training wheels, right? When it comes to networking, but then they break your legs. And what I mean by that is they don't ever want you to pedal your bike on your own, right?
Right.
But I don't ever refer to a one-to-one or a one-on-one. It's a paired interview, right? And I was just in the meeting I was in this morning, a paired interview with Bill Bayless, who's a guy who I will introduce to your community as soon as possible. He was talking about the fact that, people set up a 60-minute one-to-one, right? And one person vomits their, model, this is what I need for 30 minutes. Oh, look at the time. Now it's your turn. And they walk away with no follow-up plan, with no real understanding of how to assist the other person, right? No trust built, right? It's just, pitch factory, right? And I'm like, yeah. And, they focus on getting my needs out there rather than building trust and explaining my needs later,
Yeah. And I think for me, one of my takeaways from a 20-year career as a dental hygienist was the realization that I was good at building that initial rapport, building trust, obviously, because I was cleaning teeth, right? So go to the waiting room, call someone's name. By the time they walk back to my room, they're laying down in a chair and letting me in their mouth with sharp instruments. Like there's no more trust than I could ask for in a very short time, right? 1 to 2 minutes before they're trusting me.
Yeah.
And when I really examined that and acknowledged, oh crap, I'm good at that. I know how to do that. Now, how do I take that from that career and bring it into this career? And I just started doing the exact same thing without the cleaning teeth part, right? So it was meeting people, having them feel comfortable, building some sort of common bond, whether it's exercise, sports, vacation spots, animals. Like I can find something in common with almost anyone, much like you can.
Yeah. Well, and rapport building is important, but rapport building isn't also trust. It's adjacent, meaning I don't want to discourage people from
comes first, I think. Don't you?
It can. But I'm not thinking of anybody off the top of my head, but I can easily picture a scenario where I may do business with somebody that I don't have a ton of rapport with, but I know they'll get the work done. I mean, we may choose to communicate entirely by email or text message, so I don't, right? But if I know they'll get the work done, right, then I'm okay.
Gotcha.
Doing business with them. But I prefer people that I both have rapport with and can trust. But I definitely think those are adjacent. And again, I'm not downplaying the importance of rapport. I can think of several situations where without it, I would not have gotten the sale, right? The ability to look at the portrait on the wall and go, oh, that's the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. And this is me in rural South Carolina. And I'm like, and he goes, I said, why do you have a picture of that? Well, he said, it's not in this painting, but I used to work in an office. This was my view, basically.
Wow.
I bought the painting, and he said, "What do you know about the Inner Harbor in Baltimore?" And I talked like I'd been there a million times, but I spent a long weekend there one time, and for a conference, I was able to articulate, "Oh, I really prefer this hotel over that one because we stayed at 2 different hotels," and da 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 da, and built a lot of rapport that would not have happened.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have gone down otherwise. So I don't want to imply, that rapport is not part of it. I think rapport can be part of the trust building process because we naturally tend to trust people that we have something in common with.
So tell me a little bit about the trust building. What does that look like? I guess I'm asking, like, psychologically, what does that look like for people?
Okay,
What?
sure. No, and couldn't ask for a better entree into a point that I definitely want to bring up. And
Awesome.
I'm glad you're asking good questions because I've thought of 3 points and I've forgotten 2 of them, right? So when you ask questions, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to make sure and cover that. And this is a fairly this is a bit of a shift or an extra layer of depth in thinking that most people don't apply. Oh, well, my best referrals come from my customers. Well, your customers should always be willing to give you referrals. I mean, we got the one off the client we don't like and doesn't like us, and that's fine because we do a lot of business. But they may not be in a position to consistently give you referrals. But I ask people, yes, correct. Good clients will give you referrals. Why do they give you referrals? Because they have experience with me. I said, no, because they had a good experience with you. Therefore, they trust you. I said, what do you do with a client that builds trust? You know your industry, you know what you're talking about, you know your field. You do what you say you're going to do. You keep them up to date on the process, and you show up for your appointments. That's how you build trust with a client. Whatever it is you're delivering, those are the elements to build trust. Now, if I selected somebody like you, Suzanne, as a potential key referral partner, which we've reached that stage, right? How do I build trust? I know my industry. I do what I say I'm going to do. I keep you up to date on the progress, and I show up for appointments, right? So I can build trust with a non-client who may be based on their industry, their field, their past field. Sometimes their connections are in what they used to do, their spouse's field, right? Will refer me because they trust me as much or potentially more than a customer, depending on the nature of the business y'all are in. You may have short stretches of contact with a customer, but your key referral partners can last, way outlast that. Meaning, I'm more likely with a key referral partner to forgive a mistake or to explain to somebody this is unusual. They're not usually, unresponsive. Let me find out if they're okay, right? As opposed to, well, I tried her once and she never called back, right? But I've got more room in my experience because you helped 9 of the last 10. You're responsive to the last 9 of the last 10. Then if there's a situation where execution or my understanding of the execution on 1 out of 10 isn't ideal, I can still be like, yeah, that must have been a one-off because she's been great 9 out of 10 times, or whatever the case may be. And I want to say,
well, I like that. I like the idea that it's based on performance and it's based on a certain criteria. Because I think about a patient of mine from when I was a dental hygienist, which we're talking almost 20 years ago. This patient who still refers clients to me. And it was because of our relationship that we had while he was my patient. But it was also because after I was not a dental hygienist anymore, when I was changing careers, I let him know of my career change and what I could do to support his staff, his office, his people. Here's what I can do for you. And I delivered on that.
Right. So the trust, right? It wasn't your skill as a dental hygienist that created the trust, because if that was all that created the trust, he would not refer people to your new business. He'd be like, I don't know, Suzanne. I mean, you're dang good when you're up in my mouth with sharp objects, but I don't know about this next thing, right? So when I talk about trust is transferable, it's transferable from environment to environment.
Yes.
But it's also transferable from person to person, right? And meaning it's a baton that can be passed along. But yes, you built the trust it just happened to, the skill set you showed happened to be teeth cleaning.
Yeah.
But it came from, you knew what you were doing. You know, kept your commitments, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kept them up to date on the progress, even if it's a 25-minute process. You're like, okay, we're moving to this quadrant of this, 10 more minutes and we'll be done, right? Now comes the teeth polishing. I know this stuff tastes nasty, right? But you just bear with me, right? You know, all that stuff, right? You know, you weren't like, okay, open your mouth and close it again 25 minutes from now, right?
Yeah.
You know, even though it's a micro environment, you kept them up to date, right? Okay, we need to have you rinse, right? You need to pause and go to the bathroom or spit, you know, whatever, right? You showed that you knew what you were doing in that environment. And their notion is that you wouldn't be doing the next thing unless you knew what you were doing there either. And that's
really
a really
cool.
good example of why trust is more important than performance. Now, I think performance, you know, is part of trust. Meaning, if I referred 2 or 3 people to you and you executed badly or not at all, I'd be like, okay, well, there goes the trust.
Right.
Right. But I think with a proper introduction, you start from a position of trust and then have the opportunity to lose it as opposed to starting with nothing. And, you know, an analogous situation was the fact my brother, who's exactly 2 years older than me, he and I were both gifted the same way. You know, our gifts were the same way. So as I showed up in high school and had the same teacher he'd had 2 years before, I didn't have as much to prove, and thank God we were gifted similarly, right? Because it would have been very frustrating for them to have expectations that I couldn't meet. But I found quickly that I was able to experience the benefit of the fact that when I showed up in the room, right,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they had an expectation that I could meet, meaning they tended to trust me.
Yeah.
They tended to set an expectation that I could meet. You know, from the beginning, and not because clearly, you know, students don't recommend other students to teachers, and thank God, because my brother and I had a very contentious relationship. If anybody had ever asked, right?
But I think that's so. So what's intriguing for me here, and I want to just take note of some of the things that we've covered. That's really intriguing to me was that last point that trust is transferable. So if you are building your network with the right people and you're doing it in the way that we're talking about, when I refer a friend, a colleague, or a client to someone like you, the trust is transferable. They trust me. They know how I feel about you. So immediately you go up on their trust meter. Might not be all the way, but
it's pretty high up there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I notice and I see when that happens. So that's super tangible takeaway from today that trust is transferable.
Yep.
I love that.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
And that coincidentally I happened to see a short little video clip. A comedian was on stage and she was interacting with her audience. And there was a guy in the room that had been married 46 years. And she's like, that's great. And then the wife revealed that he had previously, they got together at age 18, but he had previously dated her twin sister for a year before they ended up together. And so she had a little riff on, you know, how weird was that? You know, most people don't want to talk to their exes. And now you're like, I'll see you at Thanksgiving, right? You know? But, you know, the point there is that on a personal relationship, right, if you're pursuing a life together, right, the fact that he still had to build that with the second sister, right? It wasn't like, you know, she wasn't like, oh, well, but if the second sister, the wife, had seen him treat the first sister well, she's inclined to start off with a level of trust, right?
Yes.
But in business, you don't need to rebuild that. Now you need to maintain that, but you can pretty much assume, and you said that it might not be, you know, 100, but it's 99, and you might be on a more precarious position, meaning as long as you've known me, you would cut me slack for dropping the ball at this point. But if you introduce me to somebody and I drop the ball right out of the gate, they're not inclined to cut me the slack. Right?
Yes.
But I am starting on a much higher plane. I don't even want to say pedestal, but a much higher plane.
Yeah,
and
gives you a head start. It gives you a head start in that.
And the metaphor I want to use for that, which really helps, I think. And then if we have time, I do want to tell my story. I kind of wish I'd start with it. How I got good at this, because I did not start good at this. This is not a natural skill set for me, by the way. And I'll tell you some funny stuff there. But the metaphor that I use that seems to light people up and really go well is that of a relay race. Right? I'll probably need to go buy an athletic baton because I make this metaphor so many times. right?
Oh,
The first runner.
we both need one.
We both need one.
The next presentation.
There we go. You and I will
And
both get one.
you
Yes,
can
and then I
pass it
can
to
hand
me,
it.
and
There
then
we
I'll
go.
grab it.
All right. I will put my VA on charge of hitting Dick's
All right.
Sporting Goods here.
I like
Okay. So the first runner starts around the track, right? And when they reach the second runner with the baton in their hand, what is the second runner doing when they reach them?
already running.
They're already running. They are already faced in the other direction. They're reaching back for the baton, right? They don't stop and go, is this a baton? Oh, wait, I should be running, right? And the fourth runner could have been in the locker room when the gun went off. And that runner will come out and come to the track and see the color of his teammates or her teammates. And that runner does not then stop and go, should I be involved here? Is this what's expected of me? That runner will hit the track, start running at the appropriate moment with the hand reach. And when the race is over, it's the same baton, right? They don't hold an exam. It's like it's not like dope testing, right? At the end of the race, they don't go back to examine the baton and make sure it was the same baton, right? Like they'll look at your baseball bat to see if it was corked after the play, right? But they don't examine the baton because you're in running shorts and a singlet. Where are you going to hide an extra baton, right? So it's the same baton. It has the same value on the other end of that. And when you understand that, that's how people treat the referral. Oh, Suzanne wants me to assist this person. How can I assist? Coming out of the gate, because they know that it's a favor to you to assist me, right? And that it continues your relationship with them and builds relationship with me.
I love it. I love it. Well, final takeaways from today. This has been amazing, and I hope you were jotting down notes. If you're listening, if you're catching the replay of this show, please put #replay in the comments, and we'll come back. Daniel, and I will come back and answer any questions. Let us know how our listeners can get in touch with you, Dan.
I'm the world's worst at marketing, right?
Well, I'll talk about you if you want.
I know you will. Well,
right,
you can get to me through Suzanne. Well, no. I mean, I'm okay talking about myself. I'm just saying I don't have please go to my lead capture page and enter your email address for a free gift. I don't even have that. But let me tell you how to reach me. I think my contact info is part of my website. My full name, Daniel Patrick Andrews, is also the name of a very bombastic Australian parliamentarian. And you cannot find me by Googling my name, because the first 1 million links literally that appear are not me. But DanielPatrickAndrews.com has got a couple of nice headshots and a few testimonials. Yay. Okay. If you want to reach me directly, Daniel P. Andrews at Outlook.com. But I think the contact info is listed there. The first thing that I will engage with you on, if you send me an email, I mean, if you ask a question, I'll of course attempt to answer it. But I would send you a calendar link for a 15-minute quick connect just to see what's happening. And then, and I'll post all this in there, right? But I actually prefer to start with a quick connect, because if we're not going to invest 15 minutes, then, at least sniffing around each other, then what's the point? But meaning I don't need a lot of random text messages coming through. Hey, Dan, I heard you talk. I've got a question. I'd rather give you focus time instead of trying to answer on the fly. But I will say too, that in those links and in those comment sections, I will include a link to something that I'm doing twice in the next couple of weeks. On the 29th, late morning and midday on the 4th, I'm doing this quadrant that Suzanne has talked about, that she said was so revealing and so helpful and so paradigm, I don't want to say shifting, but paradigm understanding, right? It gave clarity to the conversation. I'm doing it for the public twice via an Eventbrite link. There's no cost. And I'll get that link to that Eventbrite, but it's 25 minutes of material. 25 minutes of material. At the end of the 25 minutes, probably minute 24, I will give each of y'all a link that's in the Zoom to a survey that I would prefer 100% of the people fill out. And it has 2 required questions. What's your name? And rate me on a scale of 1 to 10. And then if you have questions after that, or that you want a longer conversation with me, you can indicate that in some of the other questions. But before you hit submit on the survey, your name, rate me on a scale of 1 to 10. Just because I'm always wanting to make it better. But 25 minutes of content in each of those next 2 sessions, and we'll get those links up as soon as we possibly can.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you for not only being an incredible person in my network. I'm honored to be in yours. I'm honored to have you in the Idea Lab community. And if you're interested in connecting with Daniel in the Idea Lab, he's one of our experts. He has his own micro community in the works there. He's going to be delivering lots of amazing content like today within the community. There's over 25 monthly events coming for 2023, a retreat in 2023, and some in-person events, all in the works. Let me know in the comments if you want to join. Reach out to me or Daniel on LinkedIn. And Daniel, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks.
Welcome.
I appreciate it.